I'll start by saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I'm Diana, and I'm the Global Blockchain Business Council's Head of Research and Sustainability. It's a pleasure today to welcome you to the GBBC's Virtual Members Forum on using TTF to shape the next generation of carbon credit registries. We're a bi-weekly webinar showcasing the innovative work of our members around the world. And today, we're joined by Boone Bergsma, Chief Executive Officer at Blockchain Laboratories. During the session today, Boone will unveil Blockchain Laboratories' distributed ledger technology carbon credit registries, which are especially tailored for conservation and reforestation. By utilizing the InterWork Alliance's Token Taxonomy Framework, TTF, to transform digital interchanges of value, these platforms can accelerate progress toward a green economy. Blockchain Laboratories is a Web3 venture studio that is building tokenization SaaS for multiple use cases. We are tech pioneers, as obviously the team, using distributed ledger technology for sustainable business models that have societal and environmental benefits in addition to being profitable. So just briefly, before I begin, I would like to introduce Boone. Boone Bergsma has been in the corporate social responsibility industry for 15 years, and he has a passion for using business for good. As a technologist, Boone started working on proof of concepts for high impact use cases of DLT and tokenization in 2020. And in 2021, he incorporated Blockchain Laboratories as a Web3 venture studio to bring to market the next generation of dApps, decentralized applications, that have a triple bottom line in their return of investments. We welcome your questions to the audience at any point during today's presentation. Please submit them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will take them after the presentation. And now to turn things over to Boone, thank you for joining us. Over to you before we begin.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the intro, and I will get my screen share going here. As mentioned, Blockchain Laboratories, we're a Web3 venture studio, and we're really focused on use cases that have either environmental or societal benefits, and really excited actually about what tokenization and DLT can really do for, the ESG industries and other business for good initiatives. So a little bit about what it means to be a Web3 venture studio. So we believe that this technology has potential to disrupt a lot of different industries, honestly, and bring, radical transparency and trust, and really actually make most markets more inclusive in a lot of different ways. And since the beginning of, getting into Web3, primarily a lot of the use cases that exist today, are really just kind of focused on single use cases in DeFi, mostly just kind of focused on yield pools and things like that. And then there's other applications that have been coming out slowly about really using tokenization for real world assets. And so we're in the model where we're technologists who have built a tokenization SaaS tech stack, and we're using that tech stack to launch brands, impactful use cases in different industries, that really to showcase how DLT and tokenization can be used for so much more than what a lot of people believe is out there today. And so we white label and license that tokenization SaaS to also customers that are in other industries that want to use it as well. Today, I'm going to be really talking about a specific use case as a carbon credit registry. And the project that I'm going to be showcasing today is called Intrinsic Methods, but this project started with a project called Carbon Land Trust. And Carbon Land Trust is something that is really near and dear to my heart, because more than I love Web3, I really love nature. And the whole premise of Carbon Land Trust is protecting and conserving nature for future generations. So most people in this world today have never actually seen an ancient tree. And the ones that have been lucky enough to visit something like the Redwoods National Forest and see, trees that are thousands of years old, it will really influence you to see these, ancient giants. And unfortunately today, though, very little land is, being protected or preserved to create old growth forests for future generations. And the amount of biodiversity loss happening in the world today is really actually terrifying if you spend enough time looking into it. And the Carbon Lands Trust focus is they only offer carbon removal credits from biodiverse forest land that's being rolled into perpetual conservation. And so what that means for someone who's buying a Carbon Land Trust carbon credit is that they can know that when they're purchasing that carbon credit, that they're actually helping to protect and preserve future forests for future generations. And part of the problems in the carbon market today is, how do you verify these claims, and how do you keep track of all the credits? And that's really where Web3 technology and then other things like IoT devices and satellite technology, using those things today, we can actually do a much better job at bringing trust and transparency to the carbon markets. So similar to Carbon Land Trust, Intrinsic Methods also has a very unique niche. So both of these projects are using the same tokenization SaaS for carbon credits, except they're both based on different methodologies. So they only issue carbon credits based on very specific criteria from those projects. And that's, again, because right now in the carbon market, there's a huge amount of methodologies, and sometimes it's very hard to actually find one that you believe is high value and bringing high impact. And part of the value proposition of both of these registries is that they only issue carbon removal credits from one specific really kind of type of project. And in Intrinsic Methods case, it's really also a really unique and cool project, is that Intrinsic Methods only issues carbon removal credits from ecological projects that are planting root maker certified trees. And what's really awesome about this is a root maker certified tree is grown in a patented container system and methodology that actually causes that plant to naturally create a very robust root ball compared to like a single tap root that you get from most of the systems today. And in the afforestation space, the projects that are out there today, they actually experience a vast ranging percentage of die-off, but in most cases, it's really higher than 50%. And so the other really cool thing about a root maker tree is that once it is planted, because of that robust root structure, it grows 2 to 3 times faster and has, in the same 9 years of its lifespan compared to a tree that wasn't grown in that methodology, it's going to sequester 200 to 300% more carbon. So if you're a company that you were interested in using carbon credits and looking for reforestation and afforestation projects, Intrinsic Methods offers you a place where you can know that these projects are using these high quality trees, and that they're going to have a higher success rate than maybe some of the other ones out there in the market. So why digital assets for the carbon markets? Don't we, having the carbon markets aren't being here, aren't they doing okay? Well, in all honesty, they're still very immature. And it wasn't until just within the last year or maybe 2 years that you had a substantial amount of businesses actually pledging carbon neutrality or net zero. And so a lot of the market in the carbon markets for a long time, hasn't hasn't really had a whole lot of traction because there hasn't really been that much of a push. And now that there is a push, they're starting to, there's been late news articles and different things that have come out about, double counting and really just questions about what's going on inside of registries. And so really digital assets bring radical transparency to the whole life cycle of carbon credits. And from the moment that it's issued to any trading activity it has, and the retirement of it, it's all, if it's built on a publicly, viewable ledger, this is all highly transparent, auditable information that you can, follow that data all the way back to, these ecological projects, and then, the verification data that's included to them. The also thing that's really, a benefit to DLT and technology and tokenization is, the DEX. So this solution, this carbon credit registry is built on top of the XRP ledger. And for those of you that don't know, the XRP ledger actually has a DEX native to the network, the layer one network itself. So it's not you don't bring your own smart contract and create a DEX. It's something that exists inside of the protocol itself. And then also, the XRP ledger was the first carbon neutral blockchain. And so, for building a carbon credit registry, it was really important for us from day one to look at the carbon footprint of the solutions that we were looking to use inside of this tech stack, and really scrutinize, all these different aspects to make sure that the carbon credits and the registry itself was not going to be, contributing large amounts of using energy and other things like that would also contribute to increased carbon, CO2 levels. And so the XRP ledger, another great thing about it is that it's been in existence for 10 years now. And so it's never gone down. It's never been hacked. And really, when you're trying to build an enterprise level solution, it's really important to have reliability and know that the technology that you're using, has longevity built into it. The other beautiful part, as I kind of mentioned, is the audible retirement process. So I'm going to demonstrate that here a little bit later on. And first, I kind of want to explain the design that we have behind the registry. So for those of you that are familiar with the XRP ledger, you might know some of this already, but I'm going to go over some of, some just basic things here too. So really, in the design that we have here, that what we're looking at is each one of these boxes represents an account on the XRP ledger. And when one account sends XRP to an account that has not had XRP in it before, it's traced as the activating account, right? So what we're looking at here in this picture is this account is the ones that activated all of these accounts within this gray box. And these accounts down here, this is really like the registry admin at the start of this whole process. And this is the registry master, which is really operating as a treasury type wallet, a registry insurance pool, which is going to hold 5% of all issued carbon credits in the intrinsic methods model. And then in Carbon Land Trust's model, I think it's 10% will be held in this pool. But this is really, again, used as an insurance pool for any possible reversals that could happen in the registry. And then these are account managers. And so what's also really unique and a cool feature of the XRP ledger is that multi-sign is also native to the ledger. And so in this design, each ecological project inside of these registries has their own XRPL account. And so every eco project is a segregated account on XRP ledger, and those accounts are activated by the registry treasury, the register master. And again, this is a way of being able to trace authenticity, right? So if someone was trying to create an account on XRP ledger and mint fake carbon credits or whatever, it'd be really easy for to trace that that account is not actually connected to the registry master and wasn't activated by it. And so that's one of the ways that we also use activated accounts to really tie this whole registry together and make it really easy to audit it, and for those that want to look into the transactions. So now I'm going to dive just a little bit deeper into this and start to talk about how we're using the IWA Token Taxonomy Framework inside of these XRPL accounts for NFTs and fungible tokens. So what we're looking at here again is this box represents an XRPL account, and this account represents an ecological project. And each ecological project is going to mint a series of NFTs that have to do with being a decentralized ID to identify this account as belonging to the ecological project. It's going to mint NFTs around a modular benefit, which is a type of claim. So these projects are going to be making a carbon removal claim, but you could use a modular benefit for also water conservation or other type of claims that you wanted to make under this. So for example, carbon land trust, biodiversity and creating pollinator habitat is a part of the methodology for projects, that they have to create pollinator habitat when they enroll in the carbon land trust. And so like these are modular benefits that you could make claims against. And I'm sorry, this is kind of hard to read. Let me zoom in here. Oops. It's kind of glitchy, so I don't want to zoom too much. The next NFT, and also as mentioned, each one of these NFTs in this thing is actually using the IWA's Token Taxonomy Framework, and I will demonstrate that in the metadata when we go through the demo here in the process. But just so you kind of see how these are connected inside of an account, project's going to mint its decentralized ID. It's going to mint the modular benefit claim. And then these next ones, ecological claim. This really kind of represents what would be a lot of people know as an MRV report. So measure, report, validate. And so projects have to do a bunch of data collection. For example, in both of these registries, we'll be using Planet's daily 3-meter satellite resolution monitoring to keep track of these projects, but also at the beginning of projects, a 50-centimeter resolution image is taken at the start to really be a high resolution, like a placeholder of what it looked like. And then each year, another one of those are taken. So those are metadata that would be included in when you're minting that ecological claim to show that here's why we're making that claim. The process claim NFT, this is an NFT that's going to be minted after a third party has reviewed that ecological claim that the registry is making. And that's really saying that, yep, the numbers that you have and the data that you're providing, it adds up to the carbon credits that you're claiming. And that has been reviewed and signed off. Once those things have been done, then you would be minting a carbon removal unit NFT. And this is actually going to be a record of the information about the carbon credits themselves and the amount of carbon credits that you're going to be minting. And then other things in this process claim down here, what it refers to is if, for example, a brand has now bought those carbon credits or an individual has bought those carbon credits and they wanted to retire them for a certificate of carbon removal, which they could use in their reporting for net zero or carbon neutrality, that's also an NFT that gets minted in this process. So now I'm going to show you what this means. So this is just a testnet demo that we've loaded with some mock information to be able to show you what this looks like. So both carbon land trust and intrinsic methods are set to go live into this month or the early beginning of October. Both projects are just kind of in the final stages of of getting their first pilot projects, all their data collected for them. So for the purposes of today, I've created, two projects. So, I mean, they look exactly the same, and I've just called one V2, and they're at different levels. So of a completion, and we'll go through the process of minting some NFTs after we look at this first one, just to kind of get an overview of what this is going to look like. So again, you're going to have satellite images that are going to be looking at the project, and these are mentions will be coming from Planet. And you really just get an overview again of the status of the project. PMFMUs, what this stands for is pre-purchase future mitigated units. And FMU, again, just stands for future mitigated units. But what a PFMU represents is really a forwards contract. So this registry is set up to be able to issue forward contracts. So that way, for example, these reforestation projects, a lot of times they have quite a bit of upfront expense in growing trees, planting trees, to even be able to get to the part to be able to make the ecological claim for minting the actual carbon credits themselves. And so what the industry uses today is known as, a lot of times called a forward contract. And so PFMU is a pre-purchase, it's a forward contract. And this way it allows the projects to bring on some funding to allow them to kickstart the project, get the trees planted and in the ground, and then be able to reach the next stage of the project. And then those holding the PMFMU would be able to swap those for FMUs when they came into circulation. So right now I'm logged in as an admin of the registry, and you can see that I click on sell here, I'm representing this ecological project right now, and it's holding 19,000 FMUs. And so, very simply, again, this is a public DEX, and so anyone that has an XRP Ledger wallet can buy and sell these carbon, trade these carbon credits. And so, for example, the ecological project will have come to an agreement with the registry about the prices that they wanted to sell their carbon credits for. And so let's, just say, for example, that this project has, said, we want to try to sell 1,000 of them for 20. We'll try to sell 15,000 for this price. But let's say that they also are going to, put another kind of bid in there. And they could also sell them all for one flat fees. This is really just, I'm just throwing out different variables here, really, of like the opportunities and the ways that these projects could offer their credits to the market. So they could do them all at once. They could do them in batches. They could do them however they would want. So this is submitting that transaction to the DEX. So if we go look here, you can see the offer. And it appears in the, so before I log out and log in as a user to now actually show you like the buying process and the retirement process, I actually want to take you to a project that's hasn't issued FMUs and show you what it looks like to actually mint some of these NFTs that represent the ecological data for these projects. So real quick, as I mentioned before, as we were looking at that display, this address actually represents that box that we were talking about before. So in this account so far, it has issued PMFMUs, and you can see that this is that NFT that represented those PMFMUs that are been issued. And let me get back one more because I want you to see this. So we'll follow this along, as we go along. So right now, again, this account represents an ecological project, has 3 NFTs that have been minted, having to do with, so far I've minted the ecological project NFT, and I've minted the modular benefit NFT, and I've minted the PMF Muse. So now we're going to go through the process as if this project had completed an MRV report and was ready to create an ecological claim. So the data fields that we're going to see in this process are, again, coming from the IWA Token Taxonomy Framework, and I'm actually going to drop this in the chat for all of you to research later. But what we're looking at here, again, is this link. Here we go. You know, I highly encourage, no matter what kind of project, this link is really focused on DMRV and in the carbon market spaces, but just get this up too, because while I'm talking about, I want you guys to have access to it. So I'll put one more link in the chat. That's what the InterWork Alliance has done with the Token Taxonomy Framework is really an important thing for all markets. So no matter what, if you're on XRP Ledger or you're on a different network, having a Token Taxonomy Framework allows us to be using the same metadata and fields to, again, in the carbon markets, when we go through this minting this project, you're going to see that all carbon credits in the future are going to be using things like the core carbon principles and stuff. So no matter what kind of project you are, you're going to have to get in the habit of actually describing and explaining your carbon credits in a certain way that, again, no matter what marketplace they are on, think about buyers. If they want to find reforestation or whatever those type of things are, there's going to be this set of data that's really important that we all agree on. So that way we can all explain our carbon credits in a way that's interoperable across networks. So I'm just going to use the specifications that are in here that you can find when you go through the the token types and stuff to fill this out, just to get through it quickly, and then I'll share the links and you can actually read this in the metadata just so it kind of makes sense and for future reference. And so just stick with me while I go through this. I filled these out ahead of time so you didn't have to wait so long for me to. So again, you're actually going to be providing real data relating to this project. You're not going to just fly through this like I'm flying through this. So once you've updated the data relating to this ecological claim, you're first going to save that to the cloud, to the the database inside the registry. Then you're going to save it to IPFS. This is creating a JSON file with that data that just was created, and then it's pushing it to IPFS. So now that metadata has been uploaded to IPFS, so that's what, when we mint this NFT on the XRP ledger, this is going to be the IPFS URL that it's pointing back to. So it's submitting the token mint transaction to the ledger right now. I'm at an event, so I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. So here we go. So transaction was successful. We go look at the NFT. Again, we can see. So at the top of the thing here, we can see here, this is a reference in the file back to the original DID of the property. then you can see here is the criteria that I just filled out in the tokenization thing. So these are the coming from IWA Token Taxonomy Framework. I'm going to take you through a couple of these because what I want to get to is when I actually mint the FMU tokens. So again, this process wouldn't happen just boom, 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 boom. But now let's say that the ecological claim had been reviewed by a third party and was ready, and the return document had been signed, returned back to them. The registry is going to go through this process again. I have these saved here, so I'm just going to copy and paste them. And this is something that the registries would be doing as well. So they would be gathering information from these projects as they work with them to get them listed on the registry. And, you know, really they would come to the table and start to use this tokenization back office after they had, had gathered the, oops, good thing. There we go. Clicking on one thing. After they had spent time to, gather all the necessary information for this process. Same thing, JSON file is now being created and saved to IPFS. So again, it's going to use that IPFS that was just created. Click approve. The transaction is being submitted to the ledger. And again, the metadata referencing the ecological project that it is, and then the data specific to the process claim that we just finished. And then if we actually, again, go back to the issuer owner of this, again, now we see that account that we looked at earlier. Let me close some of these so I don't have so many open. Has now minted five NFTs. And you can see the history here of each one of these, is one of those records in this process. So this account, again, is representing all of this, history about this project. So once process claim has been done, now, again, you have the history of the project and you go back and check these transactions, but we're ready to mint the token. So again, you're going to be giving this, you're not going to just fly through this like I'm doing. Reference credits, the reason I put NA is, so right now, a lot of the tokenization and carbon credits is actually, bridging taking credits off an existing registry and tokenizing them and offering them now as a tokenized version. And this says what that means by reference credit. So if you were doing that, you would be referencing back to another credit. But what's different about, and what makes this the next generation of registries is that this is all native to the XRP ledger. So it's not credits that are being referenced anywhere else. So all these credits are being issued from day one, native to the registry. Generation type, what these ex ante, ex post, these are ex ante because they're future mitigated units. This carbon removal claim is based on removal that is going to happen in the future. So when these trees are planted and as they grow, that is what makes it an ex post. Is again, like if you're making a credit based on carbon removal that has already happened. Verification standard is intrinsic methods. So a lot of these things too. So back here, just before I get too far ahead of myself, core carbon principles like mitigation activity, durability, these categories are coming from the core carbon principles. And in the future, for interoperability, most carbon credits will be describing, themselves in, providing this information. Buffer pool. So this gets back to when I was showing the insurance pool wallet. This is what the buffer pool stands for, is that a percentage of carbon credits is being held as in case of reversals. These aren't in part of the Paris Agreement compliance. A little bit of repetitiveness here, but I'll do it. So bear with me. Save this to the database again. Then save it to IPFS. Again, the metadata file has been created for it, and it's going to be used in the token minting. So you'll notice what happens this time is we're making an NFT first for a permanent record of these carbon credits. Now what's popped up is to actually issue the FMUs, the future mitigated units. And these are fungible tokens that are based on, you can see this number was pulled out of the metadata from the NFT. So now we'll issue the FMUs. So this is sending a mint transaction for fungible tokens, for 20,000 fungible tokens.
And I'll jump in and say this is really fascinating, the way you are walking us through the whole process
Thank
of
you.
minting NFTs. Um, I wanted to, as we're going through this demo, I wanted to ask you a couple of, maybe we can start going through some of the questions because I think you're um starting to cover some of the discussion points, and wanted to ask you, what do you think is the importance of a platform like this that you're going through in really reshaping the carbon credit market?
Well, again, this makes buying carbon credits and issuing carbon credits, a much more inclusive and accessible thing. So, right now, like, yeah, it's very tough for ecological project to get into this space unless you have thousands of acres, and then also I would say it's even harder. It's even hard for individuals and small business owners to really, just have direct access like this to buy carbon credits from ecological projects that they want to support. And I know I'm going a little bit long, but I've just finished this thing, and so let me just
Yeah,
knock
yeah.
off this, and then
Let's
I'd
just
be
finish through. Let's push
yeah.
through. I want to
So
touch through some important topics as you're going through them because they're coming up.
absolutely, yeah, and I definitely wanted to answer some questions. So I'm going to refresh this real quick, and you're going to see this account again change based on what we just did. So again, now there's FMU's been issued by this project. Here's all this record behind it, and I'm just going to quickly list some from sale, and then I'm going to log in as a user, buy some of these, and retire them, because it's really, I think, fascinating to see the retirement process as well.
Yes.
So again, you can see there's no offers out there. I'm the admin representing this project. I'm just going to place some on here real quick.
I love how you mentioned that this is a native registry of absolutely new credits that are not referencing existing credits that are being tokenized, but absolutely new carbon credits. And there's a really interesting impact for global conservation with what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, we're really excited about working on this project. I mean, it's something that can have such positive impact in the world. So now we've got an offer out here. I'm going to sign out real quick and sign in as like a user, a buyer.
So you can have the whole visibility.
Yep. So now again, you can see up here, my address has changed, my profile has changed. I've spent and so I approach this thing. I can say, oh, this project's got some carbon credits for sale.
There you
And I
go.
click on here. I don't have, I only have 8,064 USD, so I definitely can't afford that many.
So then
Allow.
you can really see your impact and follow the traceability component of a platform like this. Really quickly, as we close this presentation, I wish we had more time, but I wanted to ask you, Boone, what do you think is your favorite application of a platform like this, and how it will help us meet the SDGs and the Paris Agreement in the future?
That the beauty of this is really just how approachable and the mutability and permanence of the records that you're creating. So, for example, right now in the this if I step back one, I'm looking at my holdings imagine I'm a business right now, and that's what this account represents, and I have 190 future mitigated units carbon credits from this project. When we're talking about the SDGs and net zero and all those, whatever, if I've made any claim or commitment to any of those things, having proof of doing those things is really important. And so this is where this retirement process right here is so streamlined that you can't really do this in the industry today. So based on my holdings right here, 190 of this project, let's say I want to retire 100 of them, and I'm doing it in on benefit of my company. I'm going to click retire now after confirming information. And so what is happening right now is those carbon credits are being burned, and then a NFT is being minted to represent the certificate, the receipt that me as an individual or as a corporation, I can now use this certificate in my reporting. And if there was ever an audit of my information, I'm going to know that this information lives permanently, on IPFS and
But
XRPL. And so again, it's like this takes the transparency in your reporting for SDGs and all that kind of stuff to the next level. But it also just made that process for me as a business or an individual streamlined. I didn't talk to the registry. This was all just done trustlessly through tokenization and DLT.
that points to the importance of commonality of open standards like TTF, which you're building upon, and there's a whole community behind it. And it also speaks to a big opportunity in making net zero transition plans credible. We are so excited about your platform, and unfortunately we're out of time. I wish we had more, but thank you so much to Boone and Blockchain Laboratories for joining us today. This was a really thoughtful presentation and a very tangible demonstration of what can be done with this technology for the good of the world, right?
Absolutely.
We really look forward to learning more about Blockchain Laboratories' progress through this journey. A recording of this presentation will be circulated to all those who registered and also shared publicly on GBBC's YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you for your time.